This is the Uptick Network Stock Day podcast, sponsored by InvestorsHangout.com. Penny stock news and interviews from the microcap world. Public information on OTC, pink sheets, and microcap stocks from around the world. With your host, Everett Jolly.
On today's show, we have a very exciting guest with us. He is Chris Finstead. He is the CEO of CNCK Holdings, trading under the ticker symbol CNCK. Chris, thank you and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Give me a little bit of background of yourself and your company, and then we'll get into your food allergy company and what are you guys are all about.
Yeah, well, I'll give you the short. I'm born in Norway, never really grew up there. Went to school, boarding school in England, and then in Sweden. Been sort of entrepreneurial all my life. Started with electronics and moved on to real estate. And then after having a massive stroke in December 2010, this company came to life as a result of having one of my daughter's best friends come over for dinner. She came with an instruction manual of everything she couldn't eat. And I consider myself semi-intelligent and half literate. So, I could read labels. I thought I could read labels. And after 2 weeks, the poor little girl ended up at the ER, sick as a dog. Whereas I spoke to her parents, and obviously very apologetic and bad conscience. And I said, I don't understand. So I emptied the trash with them and said, could you please explain to me? I don't understand what I've done wrong. Her father was the head of R&D of one of the largest cell phone companies in the world, or cell phone providers, in the world, the carriers. And after many discussions with him back and forth, he explained that, the labels aren't that easy to read. It needs to be interpreted, and, some foods are hidden in different names or abbreviations. And I made a little joke to him, and I said, wow, we should make an app to help people steer this way, without really knowing what I was saying.
Absolutely.
This gentleman is very determined, and he came back to me and he said, well, maybe we should work on this. You having your stroke, it's a good exercise for you. Maybe you can help me do a flow chart. And his wife was a neurologist and said that would be a good exercise for me. So, I was drafting, sitting there with him, doodling. After 2 months, he came back and said, well, I'm ready to move on. How do we proceed? That's how we started.
That's exciting.
We went to the Norwegian Asthma and Allergy Association, the Norwegian equivalent to the FDA and Ministry of Health, and got their input, moved along, and after a year we had a functioning version we launched in Norway very, very successfully. And when I got better, I just wanted to have an excuse to move back to the U.S. And I said, let's try and jump into the U.S. market.
And here we are.
Slightly bigger of a task than I expected, but with a very steep learning curve. Norway has 17,000 foods in total, and the United States has 390,000 foods. But here we are, and now we're finally got a product we're proud of, and have our own proprietary database, which is getting to be one of the bigger ones, I believe, with comprehensive food data, or data of ingredients.
Well, let me ask you this: what makes CNCK different from all its competitors? I know you have a team of nutritionists, so take us from there.
Well, we have our own team of nutritionists and dietitians, and what we do is we gather all the information ourselves. We start in the beginning relying on third-party data that we bought that everyone else that has anything similar does. Unfortunately, the error margin was, I'm not even going to say the percentage to put anyone else at risk, but it's extremely high. So we started gathering the data ourselves. We cooperate with the food producers themselves who supplies information. We gather information ourselves, and then we procure it. These ladies that are nutritionists and dietitians are constantly mapping, as we call it, every ingredient and putting a classifications onto them into our database. So when you go to the grocery store and scan your product, we'll tell you, hey, you can't have that nutrition bar because it contains one of the dietary restrictions you have. But we'll give you an alternative. We'll tell you, but you can have Billy Bob's nutrition bar over there because that's free from lactose and gluten or whatever it is that you're supposed to stay away from. So we won't just tell you what you can't eat. We'll actually give you the options of things you can eat.
That's that's awesome.
So
That's awesome. So how do
thank
you
you, sir.
so how do you monetize your website and your product? How do you guys make your money?
We have a few different revenue streams. Up until last quarter, we got revenues from the paid downloads. We decided to go to a free app because we see that Apple and Google are moving towards subscription-based services instead. So we're preparing ourselves to do subscription-based. But up until now, it was from app downloads. We also have it from advertisers, being the food producers that has foods that are free of or free from specific items. So if they would like to be alternative number 1, 2, or 3, they will pay accordingly depending on the size of the category and number of competitors and so on and so forth. And we will never allow one producer to be an advertiser at the number 1 spot for more than 1 month at a time, because we want to be true to our client more than to the producer. And we believe that in the long run, that's where we will make more money. And then obviously it's the subscription base that is starting now as of next month. People will subscribe to information. We will give them recipes that are tailored to their dietary restrictions. We'll give them access to coupons only to products they actually scan and choose. So they won't get a bunch of coupons, but if you scan, if you choose, the Billy Bob nutrition bar, and we find that there is a coupon, you could choose, yes, I would like to use that coupon when I check out, put it in my coupon wallet. And from a revenue standpoint, that's a very, very important thing, because coupon issuers, usually they just, they distribute through print media or other places. It's very difficult for them to know if they reach a client. We can actually tell you. We could tell Procter & Gamble or whoever they might be that, hey, John, he purchased your product with the coupon through our app today somewhere in West Hollywood. We could probably even tell them it's at Ralph's.
Wow. So Chris, let me ask you this. How do you get the information from the manufacturers and maintain that? So
we have several manufacturers. I mean, on a daily basis, we get new relationships that we reach out to them and ask them for the accurate information. And it's actually in the food producers' best interest to make sure we have the most up-to-date information.
Absolutely.
We also constantly monitor products that we go into. We look at them, we check, we make sure they're correct. And there are many, in the U.S. we've had some issues where we found that Campbell's soup comes up with different barcodes, particularly in Costco. I think it was Campbell's soup. So please excuse me if I'm wrong. It's because they import the products from Canada. So our database is now, it's national for the U.S., and we're now going to Canada as well, and then going to UK and then to Australia.
My guest today is Chris Feinstead. He is the CEO of CNCK Holdings, trading under the ticker symbol CNCK. Chris, I noticed that you guys didn't have any revenues for 2012 or 13 or 14, but in 2015, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys had over $800,000 in revenue.
Yes, we did.
And so, go ahead.
Yeah, that was mainly based upon downloads and some licensing. This year is going to be our breakthrough year from a revenue standpoint. But I'm very proud to say we're one of the few apps that actually had revenue. There are big apps out there.
Oh, absolutely.
Billions of dollars who up until last year didn't make a dime.
So that kind of brings me to my next question. Where do you see the growth of the company, where you guys are placed at in the marketplace and where you're headed to?
Well, we'll have growth. I mean, if you look at us as an investment or a public company, our growth is now, at the moment, we're only valued at our income, not at our databases or users. App companies, I know app companies is a little bit of a no-no these days, but app companies who actually have information on users, they have a value. You can take examples like, I'm not comparing, but I need some kind of comparison. Snapchat,
right?
Companies like these, who barely know anything about their user. They have their phone number that they're not allowed to use, and they have an email that they're not allowed to use either. That's the information they have. I can tell you your name, your email address, what phone you use, where you are geographically, what you eat, what you can't eat, what you want to eat, and you can't eat, and what you decide to choose.
And how many
And
of these have signed up for your app? And what's the growth rate on that going quarterly?
well, we've had a very, very nice growth rate since the launch. We've toned it down a little bit now because we're launching the new app within the next 4 weeks. So we've saving our marketing effort for then. So it's going to be a completely revamped app with a lot of new features. We got 60 new features.
Wow.
But we have to be careful so I don't say something that's material information, but we have a substantial amount of users.
Okay.
We're talking more than 1 million.
Wow.
Actually, more than 2 at the moment. Collectively, through all the apps we own, we have more than 2 million at the moment.
Now, you guys are nationally and internationally?
Yeah, so at the moment, we're in the US and Norway. We'll be launching in Canada in the next 8 weeks. We just want to see that the launch of the new version of the app goes well first. So the Canadian database is ready to go out. And we already started working on the UK and the Australian one.
So
this is national.
So if my listeners wanted to get more information, where would they go to on your website?
Well, we have on our contentchecked.com, we have an investor relations section. We also use, there you get to see the details of all our IR firms and stock information, all our filings, everything. And, that's where the most information can be found. We also have some videos about the app and how it works. We are a keen user of our social media. So Instagram, we got sugar checked, which in the name, we check the sugars and we tell you hidden sugars, artificial or natural sugars. We got migraine checked for migraine sufferers, and we got content checked, which is the allergy part. And all of those are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. If you follow our Instagrams, if you follow our Instagram, you'll see we'll give, recipe tips, healthy recipes, trying to build a following there.
My guest today is Chris Finstad. He is the CEO of Content Check Holdings, Inc. We're kind of running out of time here a little bit. Chris, didn't mean to cut you off. But in closing, is there anything you'd like to get out to our listeners that you and I have not went over?
Most important thing to the listeners, your demographics, is look at us now that we're going to be valued at what we really have. Users, database, what we own. We're a company that almost has no debt, and we're just now starting to advertise and grow. That's the message I want to have. Keep an eye on it. Think about it. 97 million people with sugar-related issues in the United States. That's a third of the population.
Yes. Chris Finstad has been our guest today. He is the CEO of Content Check Holdings. Chris, thank you very much for coming on the show. If you want more information about his company, go to contentcheck.com. And also this ticker signal is CNCK. Thanks for coming on the show, Chris.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.